brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement Studios. Why? Because that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking hosts, the good old boys. Suds, Suds, Suds. It's time for more Suds.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to where everything good in life is worth talking about. This is good old gal Julieanna, and joining me today are my co-hosts, good old boy Dave.
Hey.
Hey. Good old boy Kendall.
It's great to be here.
Aww. And good old gal June.
Hi.
Kendall and June have a blog called Beer Make 3. We'll hear more about that later. Our Sud segments are all about beer, and more beer. Today's show is a brewery takeover. We are going to be discussing an exciting brewery from just outside Denver, Colorado called Paradox Beer Company.
That's not to be confused with Paradox Brewery in Shroom Lake, New York. I'm sure they're lovely, but we don't have any of their beers.
If we don't have any of their beer, why are we talking about them?
We're not talking about them. We're talking about not talking about them.
And that makes no sense.
That is a paradox.
No, I'm pretty sure you're just not making sense.
Well, that's one man's opinion.
I agree.
Me too.
Well, that's still just one man's opinion.
Well, maybe we should move on then.
Yeah, let's move on. Okay, so Paradox Beer Company, located in Divide, Colorado. Here is some information from their website. Meet Paradox Beer Company, where modern brewing processes collide headlong into ancient beer. Every beer that Paradox Beer Company produces is barrel-aged and bottle-conditioned. In 2012, Jeff, Brian, and David... not this David, equipped with over 30 years of combined professional brewing experience, founded Paradox Beer Company. Paradox Beer Company produces original and rare beers which honor the uncertainty of nature, bound with rigorous quality testing, providing one-of-a-kind flavors that could only be produced by Paradox. The Rich Mountain Terrier, or something like that, has allowed Paradox to harvest...
Is that a dog?
It might be.
Chihuahua.
Okay, sorry. Has allowed Paradox to harvest, propagate, and now inoculate our beers with our own house-grown Brettanomyces. Oh yes, the lovely Brett. The brewery operates with a subterranean production facility in the Colorado mountains and is currently in the process of doubling its barrel aging capacity and adding cool ships to further exploit the house terroir. We craft our beers with a passion for experimentation under one ethos, unflinchingly wayward. I sound like a pirate.
Arr.
Paradox beers are lovingly created using a hands-on process that involves painstaking testing for the specific qualities that brewing team seeks in its exceptional beers. Using base recipes developed through the years of experience, each grain bill is explicitly selected by the Paradox brewing team. The beer then rests in barrels for a minimum of 4 months and up to several years before it is carefully blended and infused with the perfect enhancements to arrive at that signature flavor for which Paradox is known. The brewers periodically sample every barrel, well, of course they do, to see if more aging is needed and whether it meets high standards for taste and character. Then they select the barrels based on the barrel's unique characteristics to blend and craft the final product. In the spirit of vintage farmhouse brewing techniques originating from Belgium and France, Paradox aims to summon outstanding beers by combining natural, Old World style brewing processes and complementing them with modern brewing technology. Paradox's wayward beers undergo an exclusive polymicrobial fermentation, say that 10 times fast, involving a combination of intentional and spontaneous fermentation by the usual suspects, like our friend Brettanomyces, Saccharomyces, Lactobacillus, Pediococcus, as well as indigenous and feral yeasts.
I brewed a beer with some peripheral yeast once. It's extremely funky.
We've got 7 beers The first is In the Spirit of Scully, number 3. And not to be outdone, In the Spirit of Scully, number 4. Ooh. We also have the Scully Barrel number 16, Scully Barrel number 24, Scully Barrel number 29, and the Scully Barrel number 30. Also, just for kicks, there's no number, but we have Curious Orange Hell for Stout, which might be one of the best beer names ever.
It'd be better if it was Curious George.
Mm-hmm. We'll save that for later. Thanks, Kendall. Hey, Good Gal June, would you mind rating the Suds ratings for us today?
Sure. We'll be tasting and discussing these beers and rating them with these Suds ratings, plus our signature belching sounds. Here are those ratings now. Suds ratings. Number 1, that sucks. Give me anything but a bud. Number 2, was that a belch? Number 3, what a relief. Number 4, a body should really not make that sound. And number 5, listen to that hang time, give me another.
Wow, that hurt my ear. Great job, June. So, let's get to some beer. We have tasted all 7 beers, and each person has picked their top 3. Or three-ish.
Three-ish.
Yeah.
Somewhere between 3 and 7.
And that was a very tough job today. Up first is good old boy Kendall.
Well, they're also delicious, so it was hard to pick. But I just want to say, great job. That was the first time June's ever done the Suds ratings, and she didn't screw it up like most people. So.
Yay!
I'm a professional.
Very well done. I've got to start with the beer that caught my attention first. They're all fantastic when you read the descriptions of them, but that would be the Scully Barrel number 30, the Gose aged on watermelon, and what a delicious beer.
Well, let's talk about the Scully number 30. It was inspired by the Gose style of salted sour beers. The sour mash golden ale was aged next in white wine barrels. Then it spent an extended time aging on generous amounts of watermelon juice, which comes through in the nose and on the palate. The result is tart, dry, and luscious, like a ripe salted chunk of watermelon in a glass.
And a lot of watermelon beers are kind of odd because watermelon's a delicate flavor. It's hard to get a lot of it out, and sometimes they taste more like a watermelon Jolly Rancher than the actual fruit.
Maybe the key is pairing it with a sour.
So I think that helped.
Cut the sweetness.
So the first thing, that hit me with this is just great watermelon flavor and aroma, and the salinity. You could even smell it. It was just a fantastic Gose. And the watermelon was so perfect. I thought it was neither overwhelming or underdone, and it didn't taste fake. The other thing I liked about it was it was almost a perfect combination of both sweet and tart. So it's like you had if you were a kid with the perfect sweet tart candy that was watermelon flavor, that's what this would taste like. So a great sweet and tart combination going on. And then it fades to this super dry, tart aftertaste. And it gets really dry in the finish. And it's just so refreshing. I could drink a lot of this on a hot day. Too bad there's probably not a lot of this. Probably very small production runs. But that Sully number 30 with the watermelon was fantastic.
So what was your rating?
That one's going to get a 5 from me.
Big belch. Very cool.
So moving on to your second top 3.
My second of my top 3-ish is the Scully Barrel number 24. Have I been mispronouncing those, or did I just blow it that time?
We were going to laugh at you later.
Yeah, no. AKA the Cherished 2015, which was released in February of 2015.
Oh, that makes sense.
From their description, dark chocolate, dark cherries, and dark malts. Get it? It's dark. Combined to deliver this homage to the chocolate cherry Griotte of the Franche-Comté region. I probably said that wrong. I'm sorry, France. Bordeaux wine barrel aging rounds out the heavy roast and contributes vinous flavors that support the tart fruit notes on the deep red cherries. Take your tongue on a decadent journey with each sip.
That sounds nasty.
That sounds kind of dirty.
A bit.
Yeah.
Where is Barry White when you need him?
We doing a promo for the Spice Channel? Or?
The thing that I liked about this beer were how those flavors work together, and it was kind of the opposite first impression. When I read through the descriptions, I knew I was going to love 30. I mean, how can you not love a Watermelon Gose? But the description for this one said basically like a chocolate cherry aged, in Bordeaux wine barrels. I was thinking, I'm not going to like this beer. But it really works.
So they tricked you.
They did trick me. And the chocolate cherry flavor is delightful. It tastes like a delicious chocolate cherry, not one of the cheap ones you get at Christmas time. But so rich, and the cherry is very subtle. And I was getting a little bit of even the oak from the Bordeaux wine barrel.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Not a lot of oak, but just a touch of it with a little vanilla. And there was also a little light tartness to it. And all of that worked together to make just a great beer. And it's not as dark as the description seems. It's more of like a rich, deep copper color. And just a beautiful beer with a really complex flavor. Loved it.
And what'd you give it?
That's a 4.
We'll be right back after this break.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we are essentially doing a brewery takeover with Paradox Brewing Company, and Kendall is in the middle of his discussion of his top 3-ish beers. What is number 3-ish?
The number 3-ish beer, actually my third, is In the Spirit of Scully number 4.
Okay. AKA the Ladies Man.
Why didn't they just call it Dave?
Or not. This was released in March 2015. It is brewed with Chardonnay grape juice and aged in rare cognac barrels. This hybrid ale pays tribute to the renowned spirit of the French vineyard. Balanced aromas of grape skin and clover are followed by oaky vanilla and a melange of fruity esters, hinting at pear, white peach, and apricot. The velvety mouthfeel reveals warm honey and light floral notes as it finishes.
This is one of those beers that if somebody says, I'm a wine person, I don't like beer, I would give them this, especially if they were big Chardonnay fans, because, wow, that's so many of those characteristics of a great Chardonnay. And I should know because I've got a friend who calls me Kendall Joseph Chardonnay. That's my full name.
But of course. Cool. So what did you give it?
I'm giving this one a 4, and let me tell you why.
Please.
And then you're going to tell us why they call you Kendall Joseph Chardonnay.
Well, you know, there's a Kendall
Jackson.
something.
Kendall Jackson Chardonnay.
Oh. I was hoping for something more, something.
No, it's not that funny, but it's weird being called that all the time. Anyway, yeah, great. Just that Chardonnay flavor's there, except what's different about this is there's a nice tartness to it. Kind of a medium level tartness that really kicks in, which you're not going to get from a Chardonnay. It's probably just the opposite. You're going to get more of that creamy, almost buttery flavor that you're going to get from the Chardonnay, which is interesting because that creamy butter flavor in a Chardonnay is not desirable in a beer, but wow, it works in a wine.
It does.
But this has those great white wine flavor, aroma. It's just so delicious. And also got a little peach out of it, a little bit of honey. And it was very sweet in the middle, but then it gets dry. Really
right at the very end.
Dry at the very end. And so it's a really nice drinking beer that I would love to give to friends who said they only like wine, because I think we could convert them with this one.
Oh, totally.
We should have given good old gal Dawn some of this.
Yeah.
She might have liked it.
Yeah. Oh, well. Dawn, we're thinking of you. So, up next is good old gal June.
Oh no, it's
do my
not.
honorable mention.
Oh,
honorable
He's got his
mention.
3B. He did 3A.
Okay.
3.5.
Yeah.
I do want to give a quick shout out to the other beer in the spirit of Scully, number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that one was released in March 2015, so just like the Spirit of Scully number 4. Each year we are inspired to produce a whiskey barrel-aged feral stout that complements the character of freshly emptied barrels and our farmhouse yeast blend. This time they were fortunate to acquire Colorado whiskey barrels that had notes of sweet caramel, robust oak, and crisp Rocky Mountain water.
Yeah, I'm not sure what a feral stout is, but I like this, and I would give it a 4 as well.
I think it's, something that if it bit you, you'd have to go get rabies shots.
Most
or something.
likely.
Probably, yeah.
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 So what I really wanted to give this one my honorable mention because the other beers we had from Paradox were great too, but this one, it was really hard to make the cut at just 3 because I really enjoyed this. It is a big, rich stout with a lot of roast, chocolate, coffee, but what I loved is when I first smelled it, just this huge, almost earthy, woodsy aroma came at me. And I'm still getting a little bit of that, but there's a little bit of the oak and just a hint of the whiskey barrel in this. And, whiskey barrel stouts are dime a dozen these days. Everybody's doing one, and a lot of them aren't that great. But this one, everything works really well, and I just want to give it a shout out.
They throw in those funky wild yeasts.
It's the feralness to it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's the
It's the feral that makes it good.
virility. Yes. Yes.
Okay, we'll leave you to
What-
think about that,
What
Dave.
June said.
And now, back to June. Help us out here.
Save
Let's
us,
talk
June.
about some beer.
Pull us out of this, June.
All right. My number 1 was actually the number 24, the Cherished. And this might sound weird, but to me it kind of tasted like wine mixed with cherry cola, which doesn't sound like it would be good, but it was.
I don't know. I think that sounds
I
really good.
I liked it. Yeah, you
How
got
do they,
those
describe
cherry
it, Julie?
notes.
Well, we discussed it before.
Do we?
Yeah.
Were you paying attention?
No.
Yeah, really.
Wake up, Dave.
I got there's numbers, so I thought it was something else. Whatever, dude.
Moving on.
Moving on.
June, help.
Had the good cherry notes there at the front. Finished with a little bit of chocolate there at the end, and just it was yummy. I like that one.
Cherry cola wine.
Cherry cola wine.
White wine or red wine?
Red wine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Red wine.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. White wine and cherry
Cool.
cola does not sound good.
So what'd you give it?
I actually gave that one a 5.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Whoa.
whoa.
June's
Watch
swinging
out.
for the fences right off the bat.
She really like this. So
Go
what's
big.
number 2?
Number 2 would be the Ladies' Man.
Of
the number 4.
course.
Why does it
Yeah.
always come back to me?
Always comes back to the Ladies'
Makes me
Man.
remember
Can't-
good old Tim Meadows on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Ladies'
the
Man.
Ladies' Man.
Cavassier.
Very cool.
Yeah, and that one had the good grapey flavor too, the white wine flavor, and like the stone fruit, which I really did like that. A little bit of the oaky vanilla. But yeah, and Kendall was saying, it starts out a little bit sweet, but finishes nice and dry. So I'll give that one a 4.
Cool. And then what's your third of the 3 thirds?
My third is I'm going to go with the Watermelon Gose. That one was awesome. Salty Jolly Rancher.
It was.
Yeah, but yeah, that one tasted like summer. Tastes like summer to me. So
Almost a connoisseur's version of a lawnmower beer.
yes,
Exactly.
If I cut the lawn, which I don't, but
That's okay. But you can enjoy it
But
while
while
somebody's
you're
cutting
watching
your lawn.
someone cut
I'll
the
enjoy it
lawn.
while Kendall cuts the lawn.
There you go.
We share chores. There's other things I won't do.
Hurry up and finish the lawn when you can get some of this beer.
We see who can finish first, the lawn mowing or the drinking of the Gose. Cool.
Wow. I bet he gets through that yard pretty fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So-
especially when a nice cold Gose in steak.
Yeah.
So-
I'll give that one a 4. That's what.
Cool. Hey, Dave,
What?
let's talk about your beer.
All right. So,
What's number one for
well,
you?
I only had 7 in my top 3, so I'll start alphabetically.
Okay.
Let me rearrange my notes here.
Alphabetically or numerically?
What letters, numbers? What's the difference, really? If you don't know either one, I'm going to start at 16.
Yeah, number 16. It is a citrus sour created with their sour mash process and infused with citrus peel. This Scully number 16 is an assertively citrus sour at 6.9%.
Yeah, it's really good. So just for the benefit of all the millions of listeners out there who may not be brewers, Kendall, you're the most experienced brewer at the table. Would you kind of briefly explain sour mashing?
And crickets.
Totally through that.
I would not say I am the most experienced brewer. I think Julieanna is. And, yeah, sour mashing is still a concept I totally don't understand. So how about explain it to me, then I'll explain it back.
Cool. So typically what happens is so what they'll do is they'll take some part of the first runnings and they'll expose it to lactobacillus or other bacteria and sour it, and then they'll introduce it into the mash tun to actually sour the entire mash. Then what happens is you can safely put it into the boil kettle, and you're going to kill off any of the bacterias, but the sourness is already set in. So you can it actually is good for, like, if you wanted to make a hoppy sour, because then you get sort of a one-dimensional sour flavor, but because hops inhibit bacterial growth or whatever, so you can still get your sourness and get your hoppiness too.
Yeah, and you're not going to infect your entire brew house that way,
Exactly.
too.
That's the other part.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So how long does that process take to sour? I mean, you said they take it out and they put it back in the mash.
I think they what they'll do is they take a small part, and it's like 24 to 48 hours. I don't know. That's why I said, hey, Kendall, why don't you explain it instead of, hey, Kendall, why don't you trick me into explaining it? So
I thought I played that well.
Kinda
You did.
Jerk.
You did. Bonus points, dude. Bonus points.
Yeah, I don't have a sound effect for me flipping you off. If I did, I'd be playing it right now. Anyways, so 16, here's me tasting it. And here's what I taste. So it's sweet in the beginning. There's honey. And then a strong flavor of citrus, like lime juice or something. It's very refreshing. I think this is a good lawnmower beer. And I do mow the lawn, so bam. But I find it to be a crisp, very refreshing beer. It's got a hint of sweetness to it, but I do think overall it is very citrusy. Has great flavors. I give this one a 4. That was profound.
That was profound.
Yeah, it didn't make my top 3-ish, but it was good. I did enjoy it.
I gave that one my 3.5.
Okay, see? All right, that's pretty good.
Cool. What's next, boss?
I don't know. Hold on. I can only think about one beer at a time. Oh, okay. So then the second one was the Scully number 29.
Ooh. Look at you getting all puckery here. So, it's the Tamarind and Lime Sour that was released in June of 2015. Each tamarind pod holds a sticky, sweet, and sour fruit pulp that contains a complex flavor combination reminiscent of sun-dried apricots, lemon zest, and dark, rich dates. To complement the tang of the tamarind, get it? Tang, tamarind. We've added a hint of lime, paired it with our wine barrel-aged sour red ale. The result is both refreshingly balanced and deceptively decadent.
Deceptive. I was totally fooled by it. No, I don't know, man. I mean, it's kind of like the other one. It's sour, obviously, but there are hints of sweetness. But the lime is what really comes out strong for me, which is a kind of a distinct citrus flavor from what you taste in a lot of beers, because everybody's talking about grapefruit or lemon or orange or pineapple or mangoes or pineapple citrus.
Yeah,
sort of.
Ish.
Yeah, for purposes of right now, yes. But anyways, nobody ever says anything about the lime. What's wrong with the lime?
Bud Light Lime.
Wow.
That's unspeakable.
You went there?
Wow. And so it was nice having June on the show, but unfortunately she has to go.
Be invited back
It's
now.
funny. I actually got lemon out of this more than the lime.
You just had to go against me, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you're right. The lime is there, and it's also a good tart.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very sweet tartish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If they gave this to kids, probably be a lot
Is there tang in
lot
there
more
as well?
naps.
Tang.
I'm not touching that.
So what'd you give this?
Kendall wrecked this show again. I gave this one a 4. A 4 won't work. There it went. It's
There.
good. We're okay.
Cool.
So, and I only had 3 beers because I know how to do a top 3, unlike some people. This one has been talked about before today and has been talked about on the show on previous episodes. It was one of our top beers of 2015. It was one of our top GABF beers of 2015. It'll probably be a top beer of 2016 and maybe even 2027. We're all still here doing the show then. Scully number 30, the salted watermelon Gose, was my number 1, numero uno, special guy favorite beer of the flight.
Tell me how you really feel.
I thought it was okay.
And
Oh, that wasn't enough?
gave it
That wasn't
what?
effusive enough? So I gave this beer a 5. And let me just say, if we had a 6 or maybe a 7, I would have given it that.
Wow.
Because
Wow.
it's that good.
Okay.
I mean, just the sheer challenge of, and Kendall touched on this, the sheer challenge of bringing the flavor of watermelons effectively to a beer where it's good and complementary. I've had watermelon wheats, which I don't think are the right medium for that flavor. Watermelon doesn't need something to accentuate the sweetness of it. It needs a tart counterbalance. And this does it really well. And I think salt being a flavor enhancer really accentuates what is a light flavor, but it brings the watermelon to the forefront.
Do you salt your watermelon when you eat watermelon?
Hey, that's kind of a personal question.
That was not a
I
euphemism.
think it's family friendly here, buddy. But yes, I salt my watermelon. Guess I can get someone to salt it for me.
I'm not sure. I think people are probably, about 50-50? I don't salt watermelon, but
I
I know
don't
a lot
either.
of people do.
I go both ways.
I've heard that about you.
So yeah,
Yowza.
I think what were we talking about? Yeah,
Salting your watermelons.
Salting your watermelons.
Okay, I'm gonna just cut this right now. Juliana, how about your top 7? 'Cause
Okay.
we know you didn't stop at 3.
No, okay, let me just say this. I really am impressed with Paradox, and I mean, I've been a fan of them for a couple years since first meeting them and meeting their beers at GABF our first year. But you know what I like about them is that you've got this balance of really nice barrel-aged beers. You've got this nice balance of approachable yet hard to make beers too. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I just want to give a shout out to them, in saying that they cover up exactly.
That was kind of a shout out.
It was a whoop. I don't know what that was. Yeah.
Woot.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, to be able to make different styles like this and do them all so well, going from, extreme with the Goses, to light sours to the barrel-aged beers, I'm really impressed. That being said, I think the first one that I want to talk about is the number 30 that everyone knows and likes. And we've talked about, yeah, but it's an amazing
good beer.
Yeah,
it's a great
hard
beer.
to ignore it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't ignore the watermelon.
And like everyone else, I gave it a 5. And we'll discuss this more in just a minute. Hey, welcome back. And we were talking about Paradox Brewing Company and that wonderful number 30. So, Dave, do you remember the first time we had that number 30?
I don't remember what happened 3 minutes ago.
Okay. Well, I remember the first time that I had that. And I know we've discussed it before, but this beer is so good that we need to talk about it just one more time. At GABF, we saw the line for Paradox, and we were like, well, hey, what's going on? And everyone's talking about this Watermelon Gose. And we're like, Watermelon Gose? Is that even possible? And then we tried it. And it's like the heavens opened up. And
it was possible.
And outpoured this beer. And wow. And then we saw the picture of the watermelons. And then it was all over. And then I think we stopped by at least 7, 8, 20 times at that booth.
I don't think we left, actually.
Until it ran out.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that was number 1 for me.
It was a huge mountain of watermelons. I do remember that.
Yeah. Quite the picture. I wish I still had it.
Like,
anyways.
2 million pounds of watermelons.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, at least.
I know it started with a 2 and ended with a 0. So I'm fuzzy on the number of zeros in the middle, but 2 million sounds right.
Sure. Okay. So moving on to my number 2, I'm going to go with the number 24, which is the Cherished. Yeah. And what a beautiful, beautiful beer. I mean, talk about a dessert beer. For people who...
Absolutely.
Yeah, for
Definitely.
people who think that, beers are just crisp and astringent and whatever. I mean, this with a slight slice of dark chocolate cake.
Yes, perfect.
I mean, there's nothing better than that. anyways, I really, really enjoyed this. And, to have all that roastiness and then like a true cherry flavor and not one of those, like you were talking
cough
about.
medicine flavor.
Yeah. There's so many that do that are just really gross.
Yeah.
This one was just a very smooth cherry, and hats off to you guys for that flavor, because it just blended so well and was such a beautiful beer. I gave this one a 4.
Yeah.
And then the last ones
You okay?
I want to discuss.
Oh, jeez. Everybody get a comfortable seat.
No, it's the spirit of Scully's. I really couldn't pick between the 3 and the 4. I mean, obviously they're
I'm with you.
completely different.
Yeah.
But again, they're just both beautiful. As a refresher, one of them is the Whiskey Barrel Aged Feral Stout. That was number 3, and then number 4 was the Chardonnay Grape Juicy Cognac Barrelly Brilliance.
Is cognac-y a word?
It is now.
It is now, yeah.
Cognac-y barnhouse.
Barnyard, yeah. Yeah.
No, barnhouse is the
Barnhouse.
Sudsism.
Funkhouse. Whatever.
Quaffable.
I,
Was this beer quaffable?
both of them were very
Did you quaff
quaffable.
them?
I did.
You quaffed them, didn't you?
I quaffed.
Such a quaffer.
And then I quaffed again.
Oh. You're a repeat quaffer.
Quaffaholic.
Ooh, quaffaholic.
I'm turning into a
Good too, yeah.
quaffaholic.
There you go.
But, I mean, for them being completely different flavor profiles, and I'm not really much of a wino yet. That's the one segment of spirits I haven't wrapped my head around yet. I mean, I'm working on it, though. I'm just getting comfortable enough with beer, and I'm getting comfortable with my whiskeys and my tequilas. But wine has always been this elusiveness, just because I can't tell the difference between grapes yet. Someday, maybe. But the number 4 with the Chardonnay was, I mean, just absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, if all wine could be like that, I'd be fine.
If all wine was like that, all wine would be a beer.
Well, there you
That's
go.
not a bad idea.
That's,
I could live with that.
I'd be okay
Oh, I'm
with
not
that.
saying it's a bad thing. I mean, yay. Let's
Just
do it.
saying. And then...
Can't go to France.
And then number 3, I mean, whatever feralness means, I'm down. I'm so down. It was just I need to make a beer like this. I really
You got to
do.
get some feral things.
Start raising some barrels in your backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes me want to try some Colorado whiskey now too, to see what it was before it became this, because it's got just a really interestingly caramely, vanilla-y flavor, that you don't typically see in a lot of whiskeys. So I next time I go out to Denver, I'm going to need to hunt this down. Oh yeah, there's that. GABF madness. I'm going to have to try it. So for both of these,
Yeah. You're going to do a twofer? Are you going to rate them both at once?
yeah, I am,
awesome.
and I'm going to give them both a 4.
Man,
Thanks.
that is efficient.
Okay. So, we talked about 6 out of the 7 of the beers that we had in this flight, and I just want to give a brief shout out to the poor little guy that we didn't really talk about.
Curious George.
Yes, it is Curious Orange Helfer Stout. It's an Imperial American Stout, part of their Non-Fatal Soul Stout project. There really wasn't a lot of information on this. I think it was just a one-off that was produced, but... guys, what did you think about this beer? Okay, not all at once.
Well,
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out if there's supposed to be orange in the beer. Is that what I'm getting? The thing that really stood out more to me was more like a coconut and a little bit of chocolate.
Yeah, me too. It smells a little bit orangey,
Yeah, I got a little bit of an orange smell.
but I'm just wondering if somewhere in this beer, maybe the one that we got just was more like almost rindy, more than peel-y. You know what I mean? Because I don't necessarily taste any orange like oils that you would normally get,
No,
and it
there
just it's almost vegetally something.
Yeah, a little bit
You
of
saying this was a
astringency.
pith pour beer?
Oh, boo!
Ooh.
Wow.
One of the things
Come
I
on, dude,
noticed
that was
Wow.
gold.
when we first opened it, I thought I was getting some orange in the nose, but as that's warmed up and we've been sitting here, that's totally disappeared, and I'm not picking that up anymore.
I just had chocolate in the front and sour in the back.
As one does.
As one does if you're Dave.
That was my note.
Okay, then. Well, with the exception of that one beer, I think we can all
I
say
don't
that
think
this
this
fight
beer
was good.
Yeah, I don't think that beer was terrible. I
No.
mean, it was
No.
a
It's
good
not
beer.
no.
Just it wasn't one of the better ones. I mean, somebody had to be the Dave of the group. Let's just get it out there. We all know what we're thinking. So
Yeah, it's just not as stellar as the others, and that's kind of a testament to how great Paradox is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That this most everything they did was just a great beer.
And I think we've had that one in our cellar for longer than the others.
Maybe,
and that
so
may
that
have
might have
had,
been a part of it. Yeah.
Now usually an Imperial Stout will
Keep.
but will also develop, over time. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it gets better. you
Yeah,
know.
and if there was some delicate citrus in that, that's
They'd
definitely
be
going to
gone.
fade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was probably our fault. So
Maybe. We'll take the blame.
Curious Orange, you're still great. Okay.
Yes.
It's us. It's not you.
Yes, it's us. Well, since we have a couple of minutes left, I wanted to talk about this whole subterranean brewing
Underground facility.
thing. Yeah. And, without going into, Area 51-ish type of territory.
Yeah, what do they mean by that?
Exactly. Any thoughts, guys?
Never.
Well, like NORAD is out there in Colorado. They're buried under a mountain. So is that like
just-
did they snuck in the back door and are making beer in there?
Think about this,
Maybe.
though. So if you were a high-powered government agency and you were preparing for a nuclear confrontation and you were going to have to put all of the highly important people underground to protect them, would you not want them to have great beer?
Yeah, just
Yeah,
build a
that makes
brewery.
sense.
So
Yeah.
then you've got this underground facility right next to your underground facility. Boom, you got your beer.
You know what? So now that's making me wondering. So, in that spirit of Scully with the feral yeast, Area 51, NORAD,
I think it's alien yeast.
I'm wondering.
Ooh. Could it be from Uranus?
That's pretty funky.
That would be very
Very
funky.
funky. That's some funky beer.
Well, but aren't there other breweries, though, that have cavey places or
Yeah.
subterranean places?
Yeah, there's other examples of subterranean brewing, or at least subterranean aging. Underneath Grand Rapids, Michigan, is a cave, or actually a mine, that was an old gypsum mine, 85 feet below the city. And it's pretty interesting, in prehistoric times, that was a ocean. And I saw in a news report, the guy actually quoted, I'm quoting him, he said, it was a bazillion years ago. So it's a long time ago. It was an ocean. And it was a gypsum mine, and now it's been cleaned out and it's used for storage by the state of Michigan, other food producers. I think there's some people making some cheese down in there. But founders
Underground cheese.
is taking barrels of KBS down this freight elevator and aging KBS down there in the gypsum mine. So,
Okay, so let me make sure I understood this correctly. This was a gypsy mine, so that's where like fortune tellers come from.
yeah, they get the crystal balls from the mine.
Wow, that's weird.
From the gypsum
Yeah.
Huh.
and
Thought they
convert
came
it
from
to clear glass.
Thought they came from Romania. Huh, weird. Oh,
Those are the other gypsies.
oh, bitch.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's in a gypsum mine, and historically, it's not that weird to have beer in a cave.
No, yeah.
Right. Like
No.
my home state's brewery, Yingling.
Yingling puts beer underground.
Yes.
That's
Wow.
a whole. If
a hole what,
if
dude?
someone digs it, it's a hole. If nature makes it, it's a cave.
Wasn't there
Nature
like some
makes-
Kevin Bacon movie about
Yes. A hole runs through it. That's a different
Very
movie.
nice.
that? If you dig it, they will come.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, tell me about what Yuengling does with their underground beer.
We're now coming into the famous Yuengling Caves. They were dug in the mid-1800s, all by local coal miners. And the purpose was to age the beer, lager the beer at a long, slow process. Here's one of the old storage tanks right here behind us.
You don't have a full appreciation for the tunnels that were dug underneath this brewery until you actually go down and experience it.
I love the caves. I think they're unique. I think there's so much history. You know, DG was down there, and Frederick and Frank. I mean, there's the history here.
This is the old spiral staircase that we cut out right here. And I'm guessing these gentlemen were down here in the racking cellar. Above them is the filtration room and the storage beer where they send it down these pipes. The same light bulb is still hanging here. It's pretty amazing to think that we work in the same place these guys worked in 150 years ago. We even have the same rubber boots.
Well, from what I can remember, they used their caves to age their beers way back in the day. And I think they even hid some of their beers, too, during Prohibition. And then the feds came in and walled off an area. But that's the biggest draw to part of the Yuengling Brewery Tour, is going down into the caves and, you know, looking at how they used to age their beer.
And that's just a continuation of that German tradition. I mean, the idea of cave aging beer goes back probably 400 or 500 years. I mean, it's the start of lagering. They would put it in the cave for the summertime, let it set, mellow, age, while the hot months passed, and then they would have great beer to drink in the fall.
Well, and that's, there was no refrigeration, so you had to find a cool, dry place, or at least a cool, temperature-controlled place to put it, you know, whatever I'm trying to say, you know.
Yeah,
stuff,
especially when you got
things.
barrels and barrels of beer to store.
Yes.
And lagering is German, isn't it? To store, basically.
It is.
So
Yes.
yeah, it's been around a long time. So taking beer underground is not a new thing, and
True that.
more
Yeah.
people should be doing it.
I think they should. So
I agree.
start digging
Start
holes.
digging
peeps.
holes.
Let's go dig a hole.
All right.
Put beer in it.
Okay, anything else you guys want to discuss?
I don't know. So feral. We've been talking about feral yeast, and there's been a lot of intense debate about feral yeast. Now, when I was a kid, my dad worked at a large factory, and he brought home a feral cat that they had captured, that had lived in the factory and would not be around people, and they called it a feral cat. So, and I know that in Florida they have feral hogs, so something tells me feral probably means untamed, unhindered by man's touch.
So is this just a fancy name for wild yeast?
Yes.
I'm thinking so.
Okay, but it sounds way cooler.
Sounds badass, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yes.
it's wild yeast. Whoa, wild yeast. Whoa, no, ours is feral yeast. It'll kill you. So that's how they get down at Paradox.
Why does feral remind me of like poop and that funky beer with the
Poop beer?
yeah, that breakfast stout thing that we had
don't
once.
poop and
it was like
breakfast? I
Evil
don't know.
Twin or McKellar. It was like that mirror, that cat poop.
No, you're talking about the
coffee.
Mirror
Yeah, the
cat.
cat poop coffee.
Yeah.
I know, random.
Well, I guess they're feral.
Oh, yeah.
And so their poop would be feral because the beans they eat are feral. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of ferility.
Okay, guys, let's wrap this up. So we hope you enjoyed this episode, and you can catch all of our episodes online, as well as SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher, YouTube, PRX, and Spreaker, our native media host. iTunes and our own Android app are the easiest ways to enjoy the show on your phone. Just search for Sips, Suds, Smokes on iTunes or in the Google Play Store.
We love your feedback, and you can reach us online at info@sipsudsandsmokes.com.
Our daily tasting notes flow out on Twitter every day at Sips, Suds, and Smokes, and our Facebook page is buzzing with lots of news.
Do us a favor and take the time to rate this episode if you're listening to us online. That's a big help to us, and we get to see your feedback as well.
Kendall and June, why don't you tell us about your blog?
We just blog about good beer and try to spread the word to people who maybe haven't heard it yet at beermix3.com, also on Twitter and Facebook.
I want to thank our co-hosts, good old boy Dave.
Bye.
Good old boy Kendall.
It was a pleasure.
And good old gal June.
See you next time.
See you next time on another episode.
This has been a One Tan Hand production of Sips, Suds, and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see you all next time.